Melissa Trumble, welcome to Empower Network TV.
Thank you, Amos Bracewell. I appreciate it.
I like your color. I like your glasses with your books, just all working for you.
Thank you very much. That's one of my joy bombs is just got to get the turquoise, the teal, that's just a little short hack to having a good day.
Okay. Joy bomb. A joy bomb is what?
Anything you put in your environment to up your joy. Yeah, I am all about joy. I had a what
Okay.
one might call a complicated upbringing, and managed still to just have a freaking good time. And I didn't realize how uncommon that can be, and how a lot of people feel like they don't give themselves permission, maybe, or they feel like a fun, joyous life isn't for them. But that is just a pile of hooey, and we can rewire our subconscious programming so that we can see ourselves as good people. And that's my big old message.
I love it. Onward and upward. So, when did you first realize that you needed to start going onward and upward? Was there a time where you had to let go of stuff?
Oh yes. Oh
Oh, yeah.
yes. Yes, I am a lifelong veteran of talk therapy and psychiatric meds to battle depression, anxiety, ADHD, all the fun wiring stuff. And I come by it naturally. It's inherited on both sides of the fam. And when you come into the world and your actual computer hardware is working against you, it's tricky business because that's your reality. That's just how life is. And if you grow up in an abusive household, well, that's just how life is. And so when you're surrounded by, people with rage management disorders, let's say, their own history of child abuse, and it's so very many, unfortunately, permutations. And so that's how they're raising their family. And I'm in it. Okay, just hypothetically. When that's what your view and that's your lens, that you're seeing the planet, that people are dangerous, that you're wrong, bad, and other, like, should be, kicked out, kept outside, not embraced, not part of a loving family unit, you don't even realize that that's not great, much less that it's pretty crappy. So when I was in seventh grade, the school was quite tired of my shenanigans and insisted that I be sent to some counseling, which the hilarity of a family of, I think we had 8 kids at that time. And so they wanted to see the whole family. So you've got infant through my sister, who's a year older. She was, I guess, 13 at the time, crammed into a counselor's office. And PS, it's at Catholic Charities, my friend, because like this is in New Orleans in this has been 1979, 1980, something like that. Like it's not, now there's a lot of counselors and people recognize for the most part that mental health is just like any other healthy thing. You go get help when you need it and, put your pieces back together and carry on as you can. But back then it was not common. So like we're all like wedged in, like pressed ham in this office. And that was my first counseling experience, which was ridiculous. Okay. Luckily they forced me to go back. The school was like, no, she has to go. And I realized the benefit of talk therapy, which, in case, beautiful viewer, listener, you don't know this, my lovey, explaining your shenanigans to somebody who doesn't know you is powerful stuff. They're not going to fill in any blanks. They don't know your background. They're not assuming anything, like whether you sleep inside or not. They don't know. And so you've got to make your points about why you feel this way or why you think this about whatever situation to somebody who doesn't have a dog in your fight other than to help you, right? And so I'm a huge fan of talk therapy, but I'm an even bigger fan of mindset work, because bringing it forward decades of just creating chaotic home lives with, the people I marry, the people I couple up with, just everything. I just lived in chaos. And that's the danger when you grow up like I did. You like, oh, I click with this person. They feel like home. instead of, oh no, this feels way too familiar. This is a house on fire. Right?
Oh,
So
yeah.
you're actively seeking it.
Yeah. Well, isn't that what we're all doing at all times to some degree?
Yeah, subconsciously and not even aware of it.
Because if it feels familiar, it's that, like, why do we long for what's familiar? What is that? Why are we not longing for what's unfamiliar? Is that safety mechanism that if it's
100%.
familiar, it's
So the job of our subconscious is to keep ourselves safe. And since you're alive right now,
yeah,
because of all the yesterdays, then it's going to crave that familiar blueprint that you're operating by, and you don't even realize that you are.
okay.
It wants that. It wants that pattern. It wants that energy from the people that you're with. It wants, like people who say like, oh, I don't know, he seems like a good person, or she seems like a good person, but the spark isn't there. There's just no passion. And it's like, that is your effery and shenanigans barking loudly and saying, hey, what we need is some chaos. Let's call it passion. And what we need is some rage. Let's call that passion,
Wow.
and chemistry and all this stuff. Whereas if people would just zip it and get to know people and like let the layers of the onion peel away,
Yeah.
and then see, how does this person inspire me to bring my best? What kind of a person am I with them? Am I bringing my best? Because that's my job as a human being, to give my best to the world, especially my partner. As opposed to, if you've got, dysfunction junction rolling, then you're like, oh, but they're my safe place that I can just be myself and lash out and, have all of those dysfunctional communication patterns and styles. And so that's how I was rolling through life. And then, let's see, first husband said he wanted a divorce because I didn't have my CPA. It's not, don't worry about the girlfriend in another state. That's fine. Then, right, I leave to go visit my sisters. Hurricane Katrina happens.
Okay.
I lose everything. Trees spear my house. So you've got a lifetime of trauma, and then a singularly traumatic incident put on a natural freaking disaster that displaces everybody I know. Like we didn't know if people were alive. It was terrible. But okay, I roll up my sleeves. I get another psychiatrist in a different state. I get another, I would joke that I was a charity case and a basket case, because not only did I find a therapist, which was tricky to do in a new state, they actually gave me a scholarship. It was a pay what you can, because I was unemployed. And on my social security card, I couldn't get a job. I couldn't even temp. It was not great. Right.
Wow.
So, doing the talk therapy again, digging out, right? This is familiar turf for me, and I can do this. I know I can do this. Well, you only get as good as you get. And then what do you know? I go on a date with someone. This is months past. Time to get out there. Time to, the divorce is final. Let's do this. Naturally, what you want to do is marry the first person you go out with. Yeah, buddy. Nothing wrong with that decision making. No, sir. So
Is that kind of like buy the first car you test drive? Is that the same?
similar. I believe so. But in my mind, I was thinking rationally, which is not as powerful as your subconscious, that amazing, amazing engine that propels us to do all sorts of stuff that is just bewildering. In my mind, I'm like, this is a completely different person. 100% so different from husband number one, right? But again, becomes chaos. Again, I'm building a business for this person, just like I did with the first husband, just turning myself inside out to do everything I can to make their lives better. Well, when you vacate yourself and live for someone else, what is the other person supposed to do with that? So he's like, all right, she doesn't hold herself in any value. And none of this is conscious, right? None of this is conscious. This is just instinctively. I did not assign any value to myself. They responded in kind and trampled all over me. ultimately getting into the same sort of eerily similar shenanigans where, I'm finding pictures on the phone and I'm like, oh no, I've already fallen apart from divorce and I know I won't die from it. So bye. And then you're left with the shocking, humble pie that's all you. What's the common denominator? I
I
did it.
ask about that. So how did you let go of the blame game then? Because that's that crossing that Rubicon, the divide, where the point of no return. What was that? How did you accept that you were the common denominator?
I viscerally understood it. It was as if I were just thrown into like the Arctic Sea. You know, it's like, holy moly. Wow. You are way too smart to do this to yourself. And you need to get very, very serious about straightening this out. Let go of the script that like women are the shadow, because I grew up in New Orleans, Louisiana, which as cultured and amazing of a place as it is, it's still very much deep South. And women, the way I was programmed, my mom was from Mississippi, my dad was from Texas, women either had money, had a good life, had whatever because of who they were married to. And that was the subconscious programming that part of it that I had to strip away. And it's powerful stuff because you can rationally know that that's a pack of lies, but it doesn't change that you inherently believe it. Yeah, it's fun, right? Fun stuff. You're jealous. Stop it. You don't want to, don't play that, just be happy with who you are. No, I'm kidding. And so it's kind of like being, I don't know if anyone has been like as fascinated by how they help people who've been brainwashed, but that is some fascinating true crime stuff if you ever want to go down that rabbit hole. But it's mindset work is very similar to it because you just have to continually reinforce to yourself what you believe is true. Because you can't just eradicate the falseness and the false beliefs that you're inherently bad or worthless. Like if it were that easy, great, snap your fingers and let's rock. But you have to replace it with the very gentle, loving, wonderful information that I'm just as valuable as anyone else. We are all inherently valuable.
That software stuff that gets in us at whatever 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That those tapes are powerful. I'm going through some integration work right now, and I'm amazed. Did a coaching session a couple nights ago, and the coach said, "Okay, write down, notice what you're thinking about and how you feel." So I didn't even get to writing it down. I just was like stopped for not even half hour and just notice what I'm thinking about. I was like 80% of my stuff, fear-based, negative, lack, regret. I was like, dear God, this is not good. So I started anyway, doing something to shift it more. So where are you today? What's life today?
Oh, it's so freaking amazing. If somebody would have said that literally, because I love those, the juiciest part of the day to me is when you're kind of waking up in the process, and that's when I really work on myself and really examine my beliefs and just reinforce, because I fully recognize I could slip easily and like lashing out at myself, being my, fierce inner critic, all that kind of crapolini. And so I reinforce every single day. And while I'm doing it, I'm literally like giddy with joy. Like my body is tingling. I'm so excited to get up and be alive. And I mean, this from someone who my heart is with anyone who's listening to this now and knows what it feels like to wake up and not want to be. It doesn't have to be like that.
Right. Can you talk about your morning routine? So you notice you're waking up, you're coming to, what do you start doing?
Oh man, so I get through, I've got my little like indoctrination speech about how it's amazing to be alive. And it's like my treatise on living. that I am connected to all beings, and that I bring joy to those who experience me, and that is my gift. And I just reinforce that that's what I'm here. That's why I'm here on this planet, is to help people who were like I was, unaware, doing all the things, working so hard, so I mean, therapy is brutal. It's not fun to bring out all of your foibles to someone and just ruthlessly analyze them. Like, that's not gonna put a spring in anybody's step. But I did it for decades, and yet I still kept creating the same chaos.
Hmm.
And so for me, it's all about going through my entire rewiring of my brain to like give empirical evidence while I'm still in that sleepy state, so that it's like sinking in better and more thoroughly. And so that the dark, ugly, burnt part is how I envision it, that can be healed and get light and be, you talked about integration a second ago. And once you can integrate who you are into knowing it deeply, deeply, I mean, I do a lot of the inner child stuff too. I don't do that every single day because, whew, you get dehydrated from crying, man.
I love it. You're keeping it real. Mel, are you coaching? Are you talk about, please, what you're offering in the world?
Oh, absolutely. So I have written a book, Big Book of Bad Ideas.
Oh,
And
wait, is it the book I see?
mon Dieu, you are so perceptive, monsieur. Indeed it is.
You talk about it, Big Book of Bad Ideas. That sounds fun. I like alliteration too.
Yes, absolutely. And I've always said that, like, in going back to teens, 20s, like, oh, this is going to be the intro of Big Book of Bad Ideas. Let's go, guys. Like with my friends, and just being like, well, we don't know what we're supposed to be doing, but yep, I'm going to go take this job, or, I'm going to go travel here or whatever. I'm going to go move in with so-and-so. And I'd be like, well, it's probably the wrong thing, but everything I do is so. And I just talk in the book about what we're talking about here and how I made the connections, and why what I was thinking and what was motivating me would have been better served by, understanding, better or more, or, moving myself forward. And then from that, so that I put out a couple of years ago. I've got, a gratitude journal. I've got a workbook that goes with it. It's all on the Zon. And I work with people would come to me and ask for help with their individual situations. So that led me into coaching, which, very happily took off until, fun fact, we're 4 days away from celebrating the anniversary of me being unceremoniously fired from my tax prep job at a CPA firm, because I perhaps was putting more energy into this than I was into that. But again, something that I remember sitting there and thinking, I should be upset. Should I be upset? I feel relieved, because I was never going to quit that job. It's a steady job. I'm from Louisiana. Like, you don't quit jobs, And like in Louisiana, when I grew up in the 80s and 90s, like, people had to die before a job would open. It was just such a brutal economy. And so, again, that's another message that was just really deeply rooted. And even though I was making money doing this, I didn't have the space to really impact people's lives. And so now, thanks to that gift of being canned, I can do this full time. And I have another book coming out later this year, and that one's going to be about dating as an adult, which is another hilarious topic that is also brutal. Like, that's how I like my comedy. I like a little edge, little punch. And but yeah, that's what I'm doing. I struggle with ADHD. That's what I do, and keeping on track in conversations. But I have a podcast. It's also called ZFG Living, which is my company, which is for 0 F's given, as in don't give yourself away. Use your resources. And yeah, that's how I roll.
Fun. Wow. So what do you want to talk about anything else? Like, I just find you entertaining.
Well, thank you very much. I find myself entertaining, and the fact that someone else does is like gravy on top of the beautiful meal. It's wonderful, but it's an extra, because once we can be satisfied with ourselves, that's another big message I have. Vision boards. That is my new jam. I got certified to do vision boards, and I kind of was like 1 foot in the door, 1 foot out, because I'm just like, yeah, sure. Yeah, that's going to work. Well, so I did the vision board, even while I'm paying buku dollars to get certified to do this, right? And I do my vision board, and it's right there. So you got to keep it where you can see it all the time. Okay. And the way it is, like, you can see a picture of me up in there. It's because that's what sort of centers it and anchors your brain to let you know that it's you. And there's like all the science behind it, like having white space around the images, because our pre-linguistic brain can't, like when you collage something and you like have images covering each other, it reads as one thing. But these are each discrete images representing something very specific that I think would be a frickin' riot, amazing thing to have happen in my life, you know, so that I can help people more. Well, I put a picture to like represent the divine. It's like, I have one picture of space. I haven't gone to space yet, but I had another picture of mountains with glaciers in them, because I just think that's so cool that our planet is constantly reworking itself and all this. So that's one thing. And then I have like a bunch of ladies on a family, like a girlfriend trip. And then I had the like fancy travel, like a woman with a hat. You'll be shocked with my coloring that I very rarely leave the house without a hat. And, you know, she's like going on a fancy trip. Mother of pearl. What happens like 6-8 weeks later, my partner rearranges their DNA and says, hey, I have to go to Vancouver for a business thing. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm coming with you. And you know, which of course then goes on to say like, that'd be a really fun trip. And this is where the DNA rearrangement happens, says, you know, they've got those Alaskan cruises that leave right from there. What if we go a week early?
Fine.
And I'm like, who are you? Yeah, let's go. So like, I'm not saying that happened because of the vision board, but I'm kind of saying it happened because I put it on the vision board. So then I was like, all right, this Kool-Aid is mine. I'm drinking it. And I started noticing. We had a plan to go hang with my brother's fam down at the Gulf Coast, like the week after Memorial Day. I have an annual girlfriend trip that is never that week because we're all a bunch of cheapskates and we don't want to pay top rate. It was that week. So I got to see them while I was down there too, which was so rando and seemingly bizarre. And then while we're on the cruise, and I'm not a joiner, like I do fundamentally see people as dangerous. So like the idea of being like, hey, let's just like go do this thing with where a bunch of people are going to be, that's typically not my get. Well, they had a contest or some spa thing. And I'm like, I like fancy spa baloney. And so I go there and I don't get my name pulled. And I felt like I was really going to get, like, I knew I was going to win like a gift certificate or something. And I don't. And I'm like, well, that's weird. And then the woman says, the spa manager, she says, well, don't leave yet, but just be aware that the first person who gets to the desk and says, can tell them my name and what time these two events are that they were, you know, trying to get people to go to, will win. And I didn't even wait for her to finish. I hauled it, right? Like Steve's looking at me like, she's so short. How does she disappear? Where is she? Like, I'm booking it. I get to the spot and I'm like, hi, Lincoln, I think her name was, said that if I told you that tomorrow at noon, there was a blah, and then tomorrow night at 7, there's a this, that there's something about that. Oh, she already did that. Okay, great. Well, you and a guest can go to the spa. Oh, shucks. Persian goddess something. And it winds up being this swank delicious thing with like heated chaise lounges, and you look, it's a wall of glass and you can watch the whales, and they have like an aromatherapy room and like a steam room and these like showers with lights, which I thought was kind of ridiculous, but in a fun disco way. And so like I just got to do that for free in addition, and it was really small and there were very few people because it was I guess it was expensive, and so I got to get away from people too. It was awesome.
Okay, so we gotta let people know how to connect with you. I'll be tagging you in this. Do you have like links? Do you
I
want to?
do have links. Tag me in this and I'll put my links there. But my website is ZFG Living. That's 0 F's given living. .com.
Sure.
And I am Melissa Trumble. And and I'm doing a vision board workshop later this month. So if anybody wants to rock that out, it's super fun. We do like breathing and stuff.
I bet people have a lot of fun in whatever you are leading.
Yes. And I make things fun and I might as well run with it. And I was asked one time, I did an interview last week and they were like, you're so like flippant and funny. And like, does that ever detract from the message? And I'm like, bruh, that is the message. Life is very serious and bad things will happen to all of us. We just got through a pandemic, for the love. If let's recognize that trauma right there. And then we're still here. And if we're not here, then we're dealing with something else. But if we are here alive, we get the opportunity to make our lives better.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Oh, if you've been listening to Empower Network TV today, or whatever time of day you're listening to this, Mel Trumble has been demonstrating onward and upward and what it means to experience adversity and hardship and setbacks, and then rise up and keep a smile on your face and in your heart, regardless. It's powerful stuff. Thank you for being here. We'll end the broadcast here, and I'll be tagging you in this, Mel, and then please put your links in after.
I will. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you interviewing me.
That's a blast. Me too. It's fun.